Let's do this. On the evening of Monday, January 26th, something special happened. Hundreds of people joined me for a live preview session on the anatomy of a great conversation, and we went deep, for starters, on the notion of curiosity. I mean, real curiosity. The kind that transforms how you connect with anyone, anywhere. We explored why most conversations fall flat, and I revealed 3 of the top 5 killers of curiosity that sabotage even the best communicators. But here's the thing, we only scratched the surface. The full 4-week journey begins Monday, February 16th with the Founding Members Cohort. This course is for podcasters, leaders, entrepreneurs, anyone who knows that your next great opportunity can begin or end with the quality of a conversation. Space in this Founding Cohort is limited, so go to TavishTalks.com right now. That's TavishTalks.com. Click register or scan the QR code. Don't let this conversation happen without you.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Top 1580, download the app.
Jesse Jackson Jr., welcome forward to Thought Provoking Thursdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, worldwide with PL De Silva. Today, sitting in for PL De Silva is our very special guest, Dr. Kim Sipes, sociology professor at Purdue University in the College of Humanities, Education, and Sciences, who takes joy in Having visited 6 of the world's 7 continents, he has seen a range of socioeconomic backgrounds and living conditions across the globe while studying labor practices and movements from the streets of The Hague to villages in the Philippines. Professor Sipes, who has been an activist and researcher studying global labor solidarity since 1983, includes previously unpublished writings spanning from 1985 to 2020 in his new book, published in 2021, Building Global Labor Solidarity: Lessons from the Philippines, South Africa, Northwestern Europe, and the United States. He has taught at PNW since 2004 and chairs the Faculty Senate. He's also published more than 240 articles in peer reviews or journal interest publications in 11 different countries. Professor Sipes, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. Honored to be here.
Professor, this has been a fairly extraordinary week, but an extraordinary period in American history. We have just about 4 minutes before we come forward. Share with us, if you don't mind, a brief overview of what you're witnessing, what you're seeing, and if you don't mind, juxtapose it against the backdrop of your life and study.
Okay. Well, I think part of the thing is that the Trump administration is trying to, what's the word I'm looking for here? They're trying to intimidate the American people, and they're doing it by picking on people of color, and particularly those who are immigrants, and particularly those who have entered the country illegally, regardless of whether they've been law-abiding citizens afterwards or whatever. I don't think it's really has anything to do with the immigration, although Trump's using it as that, but it's showing his racism. I think it's showing his disdain for the American public. I think he's trying to want basically everybody to bow down to him and to give up to whatever he wants. And I think the thing in Minneapolis in particular that I'm so terribly impressed with is how much Americans, especially in Minneapolis, have stood up to this intimidation, including killing people.
Professor Sipes, there appears to be something that he does want. At least on the global stage, he wants mineral rights and critical mineral access. But domestically, Pam Bondi has now launched some of the demands that the administration wants to de-escalate in Minneapolis, including but not limited to voter registration rolls. And even within the last hour, for those who in Los Angeles have not been paying attention to the news, the FBI has raided the Fulton County office that contains voter registration information critical to Fulton County's election systems. And the warrant apparently suggests that they have found some evidence, signed, of course, by a federal judge, that warrants the search and the seizure of critical information regarding the 2020 election. If we haven't gotten that behind us yet, we're still front and center. It seems that democracy itself is being threatened by this administration. Professor Sipes?
I think you're absolutely right. I think we have to take it very seriously. Trump has shown that he has delusions of adequacy, and in doing that, he wants to basically rule the country himself. I think he's an authoritarian. You might want to use the word fascist. It certainly would fit. I think that's what he's wanting. I think he's got a bunch of minions that will do anything he says, including Pam Bondi, Stephen Miller, all these other people who are fascists in their own rights, and that they want to trample over the rights and a democracy of the American people. And to do that, they're going after some of the most vulnerable ones, the ones that he didn't think anybody would stand up for. And like I said, the people of Minnesota in particular are standing up for the immigrants, for the people of color, for those that are being mistreated by the Trump administration. And it's causing him some problems.
Professor, I certainly get the impression that any corruption of the files of the state of Minnesota or corruption of the files of the state of Georgia could indeed throw the entire election system itself. No one state is separate and apart from the rest of the union. You know how the Electoral College works. You know how this process works. You know that each of these states has 2 United States senators. They have scores of congressmen between the 2 states. And I'm just wondering if this kind of disruption can ultimately undermine the faith of all of the American people in the system.
Well, I think that's what Trump is trying to do. I think he wants the American people to turn to him as a strong man who knows everything. I don't think it's going to work. First of all, the elections are under control of the states, not under the federal government. So each state designs its own particular processes through its various respective legislature, and that they're going to have to stand up. But I think Trump wants to do that. I think the joker in the deck has been the resistance that he's met. He did not expect, say, for example, the No King's Day protests, that even in deep red state Indiana, where I live, thousands of people have shown up in the streets saying no kings, and basically, we don't want to give up our democratic rights to Donald J. Trump.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest, Dr. Kim Sipes, is our guest. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, KBLA delegation, you know what's better than laughing? Laughing while celebrating the legends who made us laugh in the first place. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to present our annual Black History Month luncheon. And this year, we're honoring comedy greats, trailblazers who broke barriers, and funny bones at the same time.
You had to grow up early when we was growing up because your parents were sent to the store to buy. You was too young to buy. I want you to go to the store, give me a fifth of gin and a pack of cigarettes. Mama, I'm two. They ain't gonna let me have that. Here, take this note. You be a little boy walking down the street with liquor and cigarettes, and your neighbors be going, that's a good little boy right there.
We need a little levity right about now. So we're rolling out the red carpet for comedy royalty. D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Lunel, Dion Cole, Martin Lawrence, and a surprise guest appearance. It's going up Thursday, February 26th in downtown LA at the Grammy Museum. An unforgettable afternoon of stories, celebration, and yes, plenty of laughs, because let's be real, these legends don't just tell jokes. They have changed the game, opened doors, and made history while making us smile.
You gotta go to child support court. You gotta get there real early in the morning. You see brothers going into court. You see them come out 3 hours later. I can't pay this. Let me talk to you, baby. Please, let me talk to the witness, Sean. Let me talk to the witness. Brother be working for 3 weeks, get his check is $43.
This year, for the first time ever, we have set aside a limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon. They are going to go fast, and when they're gone, they're gone. So if you want a single ticket, or if your company or organization wants to sponsor a table, move swiftly and get to KBLA1580.com right now. All these comedy giants in one room on one stage at the same time? Stop it! This event is going to sell out quicker than right now and sooner than at once. KBLA Talk 1580's annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. It's gonna be legendary, just like them.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
You got to laugh the pain away.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part, they accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right. So we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2025 Nielsen report.
Febreze. New Febreze Air Mist has 50% more odor fighters and up to 30% more fragrance than the old formula. So now you can take on 100% more stinky odors, like sweaty gym bags, greasy cooking smells, and the after effects of the dog rolling around in something. Just spray, and new Febreze Air instantly restores just clean freshness. Smell you later, odor. Happy Febreze. La, 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 la.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson. Jackson Jr. Show. King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It is Thought Provoking Thursdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, worldwide with Professor P.L. Da Silva. But standing in for the professor today is Dr. Kim Sipes, sociology professor at Purdue University in the College of Humanities, Education, and Social Sciences. Professor, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Well, thank you, Jesse.
Professor, can we dig a little bit deeper into the training of ICE? Who has trained this unique force in the United States government?
Well, that's an interesting question. P.L. Da Silva and I were talking yesterday, and he told me that they had been trained by the Israelis. And I looked that up. I tried to find some evidence. There's a really nice article in the last couple of days on znet.org that details that, where ICE has been working with the Israelis for about 20 years. And so the tactics that you're seeing in Minneapolis, for example, are the tactics that you see in Palestine. The connection is there, and Trump has supported the Israeli genocide in Palestine. So it's not surprising that ICE has been trained at least in part by the Israeli Defense Forces. But I don't think it's any particular thing. This is something that probably all police forces do, is they want to dominate the situation. And if you live in especially if you live in a poor neighborhood, and most of my adult life, I've lived in poor neighborhoods, usually neighborhoods of color. You see this when the police come in. They come in and they want to dominate. And so you get individual cops that say are nice guys, nice people themselves. I mean, some of the finest people I've met have been cops, but then you get them with others and it transforms them, just like sociologists have been saying for sure. Groups transform them. They act like Gestapo in almost any case. And it's not just limited to this. I think it's limited in most cases. So unless your police forces are kept on a very short leash, which is something in the United States we don't often have, you see this kind of danger. I mean, you look at international figures and other countries, they might have 100 or so people killed a year by police in some sort of police actions. The United States is over 15,000. And it's the training that we have to just come in and dominate. And this is, I think it's been developed perhaps to the greatest extent by the Israelis in Palestine, but it's that kind of mentality, the total domination of a person, of a situation, things such as that.
Now, who am I to defend local policing, except that much of the work at the local level does include some knowledge of the Constitution, some knowledge of Miranda, some knowledge of the Bill of Rights and the various protections relating to search and seizure, the seizure of persons, probable cause. All of these things are factors in local policing, and everything that we've seen in the last several weeks suggests that ICE and these federal agents, quickly recruited, may not have the same safeguards or have been trained in the same constitutional policing that local police under local municipal jurisdictions and even within state authorities have received. How troubling and problematic from your perspective is that?
Well, that's terrible. You can't, you put people in now. Now I'm going to put the blame at a much higher level than what the media has done in general. But when you put people in a situation and basically tell them they have complete immunity for whatever they do, then you see any training that they might have gotten. I think it's minimal in the case of ICE over the last year in particular, that gets thrown out the window. If they have total immunity, what limits are there? Now, the reality is they do not have total immunity. But when their leaders, including the president of the United States, basically, if he didn't say it himself, his minions did, Pam Bondi and Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller, and these people have been telling these agents, you have complete immunity. If Trump doesn't stop that, Trump is responsible. And he's edging it on. And the reality is, under U.S. law, as far as I know, is there is no complete immunity for anybody, including the President of the United States. Now, that brings in questions. The Supreme Court has said, well, we can't, Trump can do anything he wants as long as it's official duty. They gave him a real get out of jail card. But the other thing is that does not extend after he gets out of office, so that at that time he can be charged and should be charged with these things. That he's been encouraging this. He's helped set it up. I don't care how he walks it back. I think Trump is absolutely responsible. And I'll say something else, and that is, I don't think it's right. Well, let me start again. I think it's right in the case of Renee Good. She was murdered, and I think that would have to go before court and could be decided. But in the second case with Alex Preddy, he was not murdered. He was not shot. He was not killed. He was assassinated. That man was assassinated. He was tackled by 4 or 5 agents. He was on the ground. He was disarmed before any shooting began. And there were roughly 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't know. I've seen different counts. Shots fired into that man. That was an assassination. And I hold President Trump responsible for that, as well as everybody else involved. The agents that pulled the trigger, the people that ordered them into Minneapolis, the people that didn't pull these bastards in, I think it goes up all the way to the top, and I hope that they will be charged accountable. And like I say, if we can't get Trump now, let's wait till he gets out of office in 2029, and then I think he should be charged. Because there was a case in Chile, by the way, where the dictator Augusto Pinochet, who had ordered thousands of people killed and tortured and things like that, he was taken to court after he got out of office, and the courts ruled, though shooting and torturing people was not part of their official duties, so that I think Trump could be held under the same statutes and should be charged and tried for those things.
Can we talk about within hours of the assassination of Alex Preddy? We heard comments from Bovino. We heard comments from Kristi Noem. We've heard comments from J.D. Vance and the White House themselves, suggesting that Mr. Preddy was a domestic terrorist, having not conducted a single investigation at the moment that they made these statements. Would that also be incorporated in your thinking into the possibility of charges?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They were lying to the American public. And in fact, the evidence that's come out has shown that he was not anywhere a domestic terrorist. This man was an ICU nurse in the VA, and as a veteran, you're getting a little close to my home too. I don't like that. But that he was there, he never pulled he was wearing a gun. He had a permit to carry it legally. Minnesota's an open carry state, which I think is insane, but that's what the law is. He was complying with the law. He did not pull his gun. He was filming the ICE agents who were terrorizing people. He was putting his body on the line to protect particularly one woman, initially from being pushed and then being pepper sprayed. He was not escalating. He did not come there to kill a bunch of cops or whatever like that. I mean, the whole thing about Preddy's assassination, and I think that's the proper and only term to use in this case, are very blatant. And I think people like Miller and Bovino and Noem and all these people, including Donald Trump, are complicit in his assassination.
Your thoughts as we prepare to come to the end of this segment at the bottom of the hour. Your thoughts on the role of Congress, the Senate, and its oversight, lack thereof, and the discussions that are taking place about not funding ICE without particular criteria, statutory criteria in federal law on what the processes and procedures of their behavior should be.
Well, I think Congress, and this is most of the Republicans, although a few Democrats, have totally abrogated their duties. They have refused to defend the Constitution, which they've sworn each to do. I think this goes back on the Republicans that that they've given Trump, quote, a license to kill, if you will. They have refused to pull him in. Now, the Democrats are saying they're going to get some spine. Well, I hope they do. I hope they will impeach whoever they can, including Kristi Noem, who seems to be on the hot box. But they have to take responsibility. They have allowed Trump to violate the Constitution and do whatever he wants to. And we see where this leads to. And the Democrats have to get their act together as well. Fortunately, there have been a few more have come around, and even a few Republicans are coming out and saying this is outrageous. I want an impartial investigation. And by the way, Tom Homan is not an impartial investigator. This is the guy Trump sent to Minneapolis supposedly to address Bovino's lackings. Homan is a former ICE official himself. He's also the man that has been accused of receiving a bag of $50,000 and being handed to him, and somehow that investigation stopped. The whole Trump administration, first of all, I've never seen such an incompetent group of people. It'd be hard to pull together a less competent group of people if you tried. But they have no consideration of the law, the Constitution. They'll do whatever Donald Trump tells them, regardless. And I think it's despicable. And that Congress hasn't stood up and held that is a tragedy, as we've seen in Minneapolis. But I also hope that they'll stand up and bring some of these things under control. It's their duty, and they failed terribly so far.
Professor Sipes, let me just pause for a moment to slightly pivot, but not pivot too far from the conversation. The American people at this hour are experiencing what a law enforcement agency is doing in their communities. We've experienced here in Chicago, just 3 blocks from my home, on 75th and South Shore Drive. They repelled from Apache helicopters into a building 3 blocks from my home. We're witnessing the murder of at least 2 individuals on the ground in Minneapolis. There's also an African-American who lost his life in detention in Los Angeles. They should be joined together, all 3 of them dying at the hands of federal law enforcement. I'm wondering, Professor, is it a leap as the American people are experiencing ICE? Is it a leap that the behavior that they are demonstrating in the American cities is the exact same behavior that they have been demonstrating that we've not had anything to do with or even seen, without cameras, without lights, without protesters? This is the exact same behavior that's taking place on the border when immigrants try to enter the United States. I don't think it's a leap. I think it's
I don't think it's a leap at all. And in fact, I would make the leap to Palestine. Because these are the same things that the Israelis are doing to the Palestinians, and they have been doing to them. I mean, as far as I know, every major expert who's studied genocide has claimed that the Israelis are engaged in genocide against the Palestinians. Trump is supporting that, and it's coming home to us. So you can't see this stuff, in my view, you can't see this stuff overseas and not connect it to the United States. The babies come home with the bathwater, if you will.
I know we're coming forward now, but I just want to say that it is not a stretch that there have been atrocities committed on the border, on the southern border of the United States, by the same forces that are repelling themselves in the cities of Chicago and Los Angeles and throughout the country, and the same forces that have been taking advantage of the people, ordinary citizens in the streets of Minneapolis, Minnesota. These are the same characters that are down there. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward on KBLA.
It's Afternoon Drive Time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. A Black Chicago man wrongfully convicted of murder is reuniting with his family after 23 years in prison.
Feel good to be out. I feel good to be free.
A judge vacated Antonio Porter's conviction this week, citing concerns about a Chicago police officer's past misconduct that undermined the original verdict and ordered a new trial. President Trump is accusing Somali American Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar of staging an attack on herself at a Minneapolis town hall. Omar was sprayed with an unknown substance by a man who was quickly detained and later charged with third-degree assault. Trump told ABC News he believes Omar is a fraud and suggested she orchestrated the incident. And rapper Kanye West is returning to Mexico this weekend for his first shows there in 18 years. The concerts follow his recent Wall Street Journal apology, where he linked past anti-Semitic remarks to a brain injury and bipolar disorder. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Another win for the Clippers. They put together an impressive 115-103 victory at Utah Tuesday night for their 9th win in the last 10 games. Kawhi Leonard dropped 21 points. Chris Dunn had 5 of the Clippers' 10 steals. The Clippers are now just 2 games below 500. They're at Denver Friday night. The Lakers are at Cleveland tonight. LeBron tends to get excited when he plays in Cleveland as an opposing player. He's 9-2 in Cleveland with the Lakers and Miami Heat. In those 11 games, LeBron is averaging 31.6 points. If you want to see how motivated LeBron will be in his hometown area, it's a 4 p.m. tip-off local time on ESPN. Top 5 women's college basketball teams in this week's top 25 rankings: UConn, 19-1 UCLA, South Carolina, Texas, and Vanderbilt. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's do this. On the evening of Monday, January 26th, something special happened. Hundreds of people joined me for a live preview session on the anatomy of a great conversation, and we went deep, for starters, on the notion of curiosity. I mean, real curiosity. The kind that transforms how you connect with anyone, anywhere. We explored why most conversations fall flat, and I revealed 3 of the top 5 killers of curiosity that sabotage even the best communicators. But here's the thing, we only scratched the surface. The full 4-week journey begins Monday, February 16th with the founding members cohort. This course is for podcasters, leaders, entrepreneurs, anyone who knows that your next great opportunity can begin or end with the quality of a conversation. Space in this founding cohort is limited, so go to TavishTalks.com right now. That's TavishTalks.com. Click register or scan the QR code. Don't let this conversation happen without you.
They call it progress, but progress has a price. Land once held in black hands, taken, stolen, erased. Acres paved into highways, fields burned. Homes replaced by parking lots and broken promises. Every deed lost was a dream deferred. We talk about millionaires, but what about the millionaires that never were? The farmers whose soil was seized, the families who watched their inheritance disappear, the wealth that never had a chance to grow because its roots were ripped from the ground. They took the land, but never the legacy, because the soil remembers, and so do we. Every story matters. Our mission is to collect, preserve, and amplify these stories. If this is part of your family's history, visit blacklandlost.org/share your story and help bring us closer to justice.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Thought Provoking Thursdays worldwide with P.L. De Silva, and sitting in for Professor De Silva today is Professor Dr. Kim Sipes, Sociology Professor in College Humanities and Education and Sciences at Purdue University. Professor Sipes has been an activist and researcher studying global labor solidarity since 1983, including previously unpublished writings spanning from 1985 to 2020 in his new book, published in 2021, Building Global Labor Solidarity, Lessons from the Philippines, South Africa, Northwestern Europe, and the United States. Professor Sipes, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Glad to be here, Jesse.
Professor, let me ask you a question about your book, Building Global Labor Solidarity. The other day, the No Kings movement, and one of our regular contributors, Barbara Arnwine, who's part of that movement as the president of the Transformative Justice Coalition, they staged a national walkout. And increasingly, it looks like the nation may be warming up to the idea of a general strike. Given your studies in building global labor solidarity, is it your sense that the United States is heading in the direction of a resistance movement that could actually shut the country down?
That's a complicated question, so give me a second. One, I think people are talking more about it. There's no question there's talk about resistance. There's talk about ultimately a national general strike. Right now, we are far from prepared for that. I mean, when you look at, for example, where's the AFL-CIO in leading any type of resistance to Trump? They've disappeared. The leadership has disappeared. Now, we're seeing some of it in Minneapolis. We're seeing SEIU. We're seeing the teachers union. We're seeing a number of other unions that are involved and are on the front lines. But at a national level, the national leadership of the AFL-CIO has shown nothing. In fact, they've disappeared for the last year. The problem is it's real easy to talk. And I think what we're seeing a step forward is the resistance, say, in Minneapolis, where people are coming together, but it's kind of a movement focus. See, the problem that a lot of people don't understand, they think back to the 60s, they think about the civil rights movement, they think about the anti-Vietnam War movement, women's movement, et cetera, gay and lesbian movement, et cetera. What has been lost from history is that each of these movements were grounded by organization. Dr. King had the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. You had the Panthers. You had you had all kinds of things. The Brown Berets in Denver. Things like this. We don't have that organization now. So, in other words, we can mobilize people. The No Kings movement has been very good at mobilizing, but they've not built organization. And I think before we talk about anything about a national general strike, we've got to talk about organization. And that includes building a new labor movement. And by the way, if I can be so shameless, I've got a new book coming out in August called Unions, Race, and Popular Democracy, Building a Progressive Labor Movement. That'll be out from Cornell University Press in August. And what I'm trying to do is look at things from the 60s or from the 30s and 40s and see what we can learn about them to help build organization today. And these are questions that are not being asked and answered. So I think the key to this, and it's the key to this global stuff that we've seen. I studied the KMU Labor Center in the Philippines. I've studied COSATU in South Africa. These were organizations at the foundation of the resistance, and that they help build movements. But without that organization, you don't have those movements. They're not sustainable. So you have to have organizations to build leadership. You have to have organizations to think out your strategy and tactics. You have, to build human connections. And I don't think we've done that, certainly not sufficiently, but I don't think we've done it much at all. And so to me, the goal, the immediate goal is to build organization that can support these movements. And then with that, I think we're moving to, as we do that, and it's starting to happen in some places. I think Minneapolis is going to see a great growth in this. But I think as we see this growth, then the idea of resistance ultimately to some sort of a national strike is possible. But I think it's at least years down the road at best. Now, I also want to say something that ties into this, ties in with my book, and that is we in the United States have been taught, consciously taught, that we're the only ones that count in the world. That we're the shining light on the hill. That goes back to the Pilgrims' time, Christ. Anyway, so and everybody wants to be an American, and everybody's trying to get here and stuff like that. Now, first of all, what I'm going to argue is that we cannot confine ourselves just to the national level. We've got to take a global focus. We've got to look at the United States' role in the world. And there's a brand new book I want to recommend to your listeners called Cold War on Five Continents: A Global History of Empire and Espionage by Alfred W. McCoy. I highly, highly rate it. His study of the Cold War is going to really open some eyes. But the United States has not been this wonderful place that our leaders keep telling us it is. And we've got to find ways to unite with people, whether in Palestine, whether in the Philippines, whether in South Africa, whether India, and even Iran. We've got to find ways to build ties with these countries around the world. And we as Americans have to start taking this global focus. It's absolutely essential.
Some of the lessons from the Philippines, South Africa, Northwestern Europe, and the United States, you're suggesting that organizing the labor movement just within the United States is simply not enough to address the nature of the problem.
Absolutely right. We've got to look at this globally. The United States is, and it's also, it's always been a global process ever since the Europeans came here in 1607, or actually before in a couple of places, but continuously since 1607. We've always affected the world, and we've been affected by it. And since particularly 1945, I would argue that we've tried to dominate the world, at least that part of the world that was not dominated by the Soviet Union. Okay. But the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, and we've tried to dominate the world. And, we just saw, for example, just the last couple of days that something like 2 million people have died in the Ukraine. Now, however you feel about Putin or whatever, the fact is it was the United States that violate our own world that's led to events in Ukraine and the killing of 2 million people. We've got to look at that. We can't understand just this America First stuff. It's not, it's just not realistic. It gives us no way forward. And I think, to be honest, it's based on racism.
I can see why Dr. King in 1967, April 4th, in his Beyond Vietnam speech, and a speech that I preached myself this past King birthday, Beyond Venezuela, ignoring the global connections to what's taking place in the United States, led by this MAGA movement, which affects South America, the United States, Canada, Greenland, Europe, the Ukraine, the North American Free Trade Agreement, the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act in Africa. It's all on the table, and therefore global solidarity is important. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More with Professor Sipes when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Protect yourself from Medicare card scams. Scammers may call, email, or even knock on your door claiming they need your Medicare info, asking for money, or threatening to cancel your benefits. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. Remember, Medicare doesn't need to verify your information. They already have it. Medicare won't charge you for a new card and will never threaten to cancel benefits. Check your Medicare statements for suspicious charges and report scams to the California Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-855-613-7080. We're here to help.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk
The Jesse
1580.
Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the final segment in our first hour on Thought Provoking Thursdays worldwide with PL De Silva, our very special guest. Sitting in for Dr. De Silva is Dr. Kim Sipes. Dr. Sipes has taught at Purdue since 2004 and chairs the Faculty Senate. He's also published more than 240 articles in peer-reviewed or general interest publications in 11 different countries. Professor Sipes, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse.
Professor, can I make a comment on political violence? I was in Congress when Congresswoman Gabby Giffords was shot. Her husband, Mark Kelly, went on, an astronaut, to become a United States Senator, Senator Mark Kelly. I remember, and I think we all do, the 2 assassination attempts on President Donald Trump. We also remember when Nancy Pelosi's husband was beaten in his home. And recently, Congressman Maxwell Frost was punched in the face. Yesterday, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar was assaulted. Your thoughts about the rise in political violence and, if you will, the mental health condition of the American people, given just the sheer amount of information on both sides of the political divide that's deeply troubling and anxiety-filled. Professor Sipes?
Okay. That's interesting because it was following. I was thinking during the break about this, where we were going to go next. One of the things that we've seen happen, and it's really true under the Trump administration, but it's true of others, both Democrats and Republicans. This goes back to the whole thing of anti-communism. And that, the Communist Party was a legal party, still is, as far as I know. But one of the techniques that the right did was basically to teach us to shut our hearing when anybody said communist or socialist or anything like this. They didn't want us to talk to these people. It didn't matter how grounded in reality they were or weren't, but we weren't even supposed to think about them. And this led to the McCarthy period, and I can go on about that, but I don't want to. But what we've seen lately, and particularly under the MAGA movement, is the idea is conservatives can't talk to liberals, liberals can't talk to conservatives because the other side is both evil. And this is also carried out. You see it in the news casting today. I mean, Fox doesn't want to talk to MSNBC and vice versa, and CNN somewhere in the middle. All right. The point is, let me tell you a little story. I teach in Northwest Indiana. I taught by the way, I am now retired. I'm no longer president of the Senate or a professor. I'm a professor emeritus, what we call emeritus. Anyway, I'm retired. And the point is, for 18 and a half years, I taught in a university that was 4.5 miles out of a 2-stoplight town. We're talking deep, dark, rural Indiana, and people, most of the people, very provincial area. A world trip was going to Tennessee or Kentucky to see relatives for most of my students. Yeah. I can't make this stuff up. But what the thing was, so I keep coming. I have literally traveled to, I think we counted up one night, something like 55 major cities around the world. I've been to the Philippines 10 times. I've been to Vietnam 5 times. I've taught in Vietnam 2 summers. I've literally circled the globe twice. So what I was doing was I was bringing my experiences, and also as a former U.S. Marine and then a former industrial printer, I was bringing that in the classroom. And I would tell students, I don't want you to say, well, he's full of crap or whatever. He's wonderful. I want you to think about what I said. In fact, when I speak in public, I tell my audiences not to believe a single word I say. I say, give me the respect to consider what I'm saying. And if it makes sense to you, adopt it. If it makes sense, get your hand up and raise questions or say, hey, he's full of crap and I don't want to listen to it. And you know what I found out? No, and even on my exams, I allowed my students to challenge anything I said in class. And I didn't hold it against them. They got judged on how well they made their argument or didn't make it. And what I found out is that, people would listen. They would think. Some people I changed, some people I didn't. But we were able to communicate. This idea that you can't communicate is nonsense. It's being put out by the powers that be. They don't want us to talk to each other. They don't want whites to talk to blacks or blacks to talk to whites. And this is, this is one thing I'm glad you're expanding on in here with all your guests and people like that. I commend you for that, sir. But the idea here that we can't talk is to keep us from talking. And we can talk, and you sit down with anybody. I mean, whether you over coffee or a beer or whatever, little weed here and there in some places and in those states that are legal, you can sit down and have a conversation with people. And if you respect the other person and recognize they may see the world differently than you, then we can communicate. It's only when you say you can't think anything differently than me. That's insane. I mean, it's as experienced as I am, and I really have a range of global experiences I've tried to illuminate, is that we can sit down and talk, and I can talk with the rednecks. I mean, I can talk with anybody. The only people I've never been able to talk to are the rich people because I don't know none of them. That ain't my neighborhood, and I've lived in Logan Square, in Chicago for years. My kids are Chicago public school graduates, and they've done well in the world. But we've done it by talking with each other. We've done that by respecting people, by crossing ethnic and racial borders and things like that. And I've tried to give my students and my kids, for example, the most accurate view of the world that I've been able to come up with, and let them disagree. I said, show me your evidence. See, that's one of the things Trump's getting away with. Trump will say anything, and the media kisses his ass, and nobody says, sir, you're full of crap. Because he is. Most of the time, he's lying, and he's a professional liar. He lies as easy as he breathes, and they're letting him get away with it. Show us your evidence. Sit down with us. Talk with us. See what we can do. And but he'd rather say Alex Preddy was a domestic terrorist. The only domestic terrorist I see in this or the leading domestic terrorist I see is Donald J. Trump. And I don't think we should allow him or anybody else to define the limits of our conversations. That we've got to talk across different lines, different boundaries and stuff like that. And we can do it because my experience shows we can.
Professor, when I think about it, and I've got just about a minute left in our program, so grateful for your participation today, and I hope you become a regular contributor and guest on our show. Let me tell you something.
Thank
you.
The
2nd Congressional District of Illinois, 2/3 of it geographically is from here on 43rd Street in Chicago all the way to Tilton, Illinois. We've got southern counties that have actually voted to join Indiana, to join down there where you work. And you have to venture into this space. That's what I'm hearing you say. And you have to have communications with them. You have to talk with them. And you'll find more human commonality, more things that you have in common than you have apart if we're just willing to take the risk. Professor Sykes, I'm particularly grateful that you've been on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I hope you'll be back.
I'd like to. Thank you, Jesse. Thanks for having me. I hope it's been good.
Oh, it's been fantastic. Thank you. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is Thought-Provoking Thursdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. When we come forward, our regular contributor, Dr. Todd Eury, will be joining us.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. A Black Chicago man wrongfully convicted of murder is reuniting with his family after 23 years in prison.
Feel good to be out. I feel good to be free.
A judge vacated Antonio Porter's conviction this week, citing concerns about a Chicago police officer's past misconduct that undermined the original verdict and ordered a new trial. President Trump is accusing Somali American Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar of staging an attack on herself at a Minneapolis town hall. Omar was sprayed with an unknown substance by a man who was quickly detained and later charged with third-degree assault. Trump told ABC News he believes Omar is a fraud and suggested she orchestrated the incident. And rapper Kanye West is returning to Mexico this weekend for his first shows there in 18 years. The concerts follow his recent Wall Street Journal apology, where he linked past anti-Semitic remarks to a brain injury and bipolar disorder. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Another win for the Clippers. They put together an impressive 115-103 victory at Utah Tuesday night for their 9th win in the last 10 games. Kawhi Leonard dropped 21 points. Chris Dunn had 5 of the Clippers' 10 steals. The Clippers are now just 2 games below 500. They're at Denver Friday night. The Lakers are at Cleveland tonight. LeBron tends to get excited when he plays in Cleveland as an opposing player. He's 9-2 in Cleveland with the Lakers and Miami Heat. In those 11 games, LeBron is averaging 31.6 points. If you want to see how motivated LeBron will be in his hometown area, it's a 4 p.m. tip-off local time on ESPN. Top 5 women's college basketball teams in this week's top 25 rankings: UConn, 19-1 UCLA, South Carolina, Texas, and Vanderbilt. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's do this. On the evening of Monday, January 26th, something special happened. Hundreds of people joined me for a live preview session on the anatomy of a great conversation, and we went deep, for starters, on the notion of curiosity. I mean, real curiosity. The kind that transforms how you connect with anyone, anywhere. We explored why most conversations fall flat, and I revealed 3 of the top 5 killers of curiosity that sabotage even the best communicators. But here's the thing, we only scratched the surface. The full 4-week journey begins Monday, February 16th with the Founding Members Cohort. This course is for podcasters, leaders, entrepreneurs, anyone who knows that your next great opportunity can begin or end with the quality of a conversation. Space in this Founding Cohort is limited, so go to TavishTalks.com right now. That's TavishTalks.com. Click register or scan the QR code. Don't let this conversation happen without you.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. What an amazing personality Professor Seitz is. Downstate rural Indiana, the real deal, having changed the world and grown in a global perspective. That's what travel does for us, that part right there. I remember growing up in a household where a wonderful woman by the name of Florine Malone would take care of us when our parents were extremely busy fighting for social justice around the country, around the world. And Mrs. Malone lived in Markham, Illinois. One day, my brothers and sisters and I decided that we wanted to go see a movie downtown. And of course, Mrs. Malone was not very familiar with downtown Chicago. So we convinced her to catch the Jeffrey Express with us. And we took her to downtown Chicago, to the Esquire Theater, to see one of our favorite movies. I can't remember what it specifically was, but when we took Mrs. Malone downtown Chicago, just 20 minutes from our home, she thought she was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Most of our people do not travel more than 20 miles past their home. Just imagine for a moment how provincial we are until we have global experience. I heard Professor Sipes share with us his world experience, the many continents, the many cities, the many times that he's traversed the world. And then he found himself teaching in a classroom with students from rural Indiana, deep red Indiana. Of course, bringing the very progressive and thoughtful vision, a global vision that you heard on our program in the previous hour. And he said specifically that traveling the world for many of his students meant they went to Tennessee or went over to Kentucky to meet family members and to meet friends, and then they would return back to Indiana. That's their frame of reference. And so when we ask our leadership, particularly leadership within the Congressional Black Caucus, to venture into parts unknown, not just those communities that the Voting Rights Act has given us the privilege to fortunately represent either in Congress or in the state legislatures of our nation, oftentimes we feel most comfortable spending time with the people that we know and the people that we think will vote for us. But oftentimes we have to venture into unfamiliar territory. And in those conversations, you're actually going to find out that beyond them calling us upstaters from Chicago and we calling them names, downstaters and worse, downstate, we find out that we're all mortal. We all share a desire for our families to be safe. We all want something to eat. We all want better schools. We want decent, safe, affordable housing. We all want to care for our elderly and for our loved ones. You find out, as I did in Iowa with my father when I was campaigning with him in 1984 and 1988, and we were milking cows and having chickens that had just been slaughtered and fresh eggs from chickens that had just laid them, as we spent time for the first time in my life in rural America, and developed an appreciation for just how other people live and how other people see things. In this speech in 1967, on April 4th, Martin Luther King Jr. talks about Vietnam, about beyond Vietnam, a time to speak out. And he shares with us a spiritual note towards the end of the speech, which I can't get off of my mind going into this new year and this deeply complicated season that we find ourselves in politically. He said, one of the great challenges of life is the ability to see life from another's point of view, to actually listen to another's point of view, to see their frame of reference, to understand what they understand, to understand that you don't know all things and all things don't know you, and neither do they. But if you can find that common ground between the two, something special can happen. To see and understand something even from an enemy's point of view is the key to ending war, before everything breaks down into absolute chaos and conflict. One of the great challenges of human existence is to stop long enough to hear and understand from another's point of view. Insight from Martin Luther King Jr. at this hour in the nation's history, and grateful for the previous conversation that we've had with Dr. Kim Sipes, of Professor Emeritus at Purdue University. In the next hour, Dr. S. Todd Eury, principal of the Eury Firm, a Maryland-based litigation and government relations firm, who also serves as the senior pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore and affiliates. Dr. Eury is also the former chief executive officer of the Rainbow Push Coalition, an organization founded by my father. His social justice work includes having served on the national board of the National Action Network, Reverend Al Sharpton's organization, from 2015 to 2021, past political action chair for the Maryland State Conference of the NAACP, and co-founding principal of Community Churches of Community Development, Inc. Dr. Eury, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
I'm glad to be with you. It feels like Chicago sent its weather to Maryland, and I'm feeling some kind of way.
I bet you are. And so is half of the country. Our prayers are going out to those who've lost their lives in this bomb snowstorm and cold that has taken over certainly the southern half of the United States. When we come forward, Dr. Urey, I asked Professor Sipes about this question of political violence, from Gabby Giffords to Nancy Pelosi's husband to the two assassination attempts of President Donald Trump, of Maxwell Frost having been punched in the face within the last week, and Ilhan Omar being assaulted last night. I thought that you might, when we come forward, be able to put the spirit energy of the nation into a particular context. And I know that we've got a lot to talk about here on KBLA Talk 1580. Beyond that, more when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to Dr. S. Todd Urey on Thought Provoking Thursdays. More when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, KBLA delegation, you know what's better than laughing? Laughing while celebrating the legends who made us laugh in the first place. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to present our annual Black History Month luncheon. And this year, we're honoring comedy greats, trailblazers who broke barriers, and funny bones at the same time.
You had to grow up early when we was growing up because your parents were seen to the store to buy. You was too young to buy. I want you to go to the store, give me a fifth of gin and a pack of cigarettes. Mama, I'm two. They ain't gonna let me have that. Here, take this note. You be a little boy walking down the street with liquor and cigarettes, and your neighbors be going, that's a good little boy right there.
We need a little levity right about now. So we're rolling out the red carpet for comedy royalty. D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Lunel, Dion Cole, Martin Lawrence, and a surprise guest appearance. It's going up Thursday, February 26th in downtown LA at the Grammy Museum. An unforgettable afternoon of stories, celebration, and yes, plenty of laughs, because let's be real, these legends don't just tell jokes. They have changed the game, opened doors, and made history while making us smile.
You gotta go to child support court. You gotta get there real early in the morning. You see brothers going into court. You see them come out 3 hours later. I can't pay this. Let me talk to you, baby. Please, let me talk to the witness, Sean. Let me talk to the witness. Brother be working for 3 weeks, get his check is $43.
This year, for the first time ever, we have set aside a limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon. They are going to go fast, and when they're gone, they're gone. So if you want a single ticket, or if your company or organization wants to sponsor a table, move swiftly and get to KBLA1580.com right now. All these comedy giants in one room on one stage at the same time? Stop it! This event is going to sell out quicker than right now and sooner than at once. KBLA Talk 1580's annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. It's gonna be legendary, just like them.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
You got to laugh the pain away.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part, they accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right. So we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2025 Nielsen report.
Febreze. New Febreze Air Mist has 50% more odor fighters and up to 30% more fragrance than the old formula. So now you can take on 100% more stinky odors, like sweaty gym bags, greasy cooking smells, and the after effects of the dog rolling around in something. Just spray, and new Febreze Air instantly restores just clean freshness. Smell you later, odor.
Happy Febreze, la 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 la.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And my wonderful producer just reminded me that it is Wednesday and not Thursday. That makes this Wealthy Wednesday. Dr. Yuri, I apologize for advancing us by one day. Dr. Yuri, initially, your thoughts on whether or not political violence in the United States is now escalating. I understand that we have a small technical difficulty, which I will resolve momentarily, but I do want to share with all of our listeners that the trajectory without de-escalation, without a spirit tone shift and change at the very top of the nation, this isn't going to get better. This is going to get worse before it gets better. And I am deeply concerned about how we process the spirit energy ourselves. Dr. Yuri?
Yeah, there's a lot there to unpack. When we talk about political violence, we're not talking about a thing as much as we're talking about a category where there are distinctions of type. Some political violence plays out the way we have seen it on the news with Ms. Good, Mr. Preddy. Other political violence plays itself out with policies that intentionally inflict harm without the use of a bullet. It's with the voting capacity of elected representatives at local, state, and federal levels. And so I think what we're beginning to see in terms of the kinds of political violence, the hostility coming from the government toward the citizens, is one that is confirmation of the paranoia that we have been living through going all the way back to the run-up to the 2008 presidential election. That the notion that not only would you have a Black president, but you would have a Black country or a country of color as the majority has been disturbing the sleep of the white entitlement class for going on 2 decades now. And so what we're beginning to see in terms of the aggression directed at certain communities, the over-policing in certain cities to the exclusion of others is policy violence. But policy violence is nothing more or less than the expression of an intent to produce a particular outcome. And so it is that lead up to violence. When Dr. King asked the question, where do we go from here, chaos or community? That question posed for us the reality that we had not reached either chaos or community. If that question gets raised today, where do we go from here? Here is chaos. And it is chaos marketed for that very purpose. When you have Stephen Miller in the White House drawing the policy diagram, when you have the president parroting whatever the line needs to be, when questioning why a sitting member of Congress who is an immigrant herself from the Somali community, the response he gives is not that political violence is never appropriate, but rather she's a fraud. And so we are touching the places that Dr. King warned us about, and he surmised openly how would we avoid getting to this crossroad. And now that we're here, the people have to figure out what will be their response to political violence of all types of sort, including the kind of violence we've seen on the television over the last several days.
I'm wondering, Dr. Uri, when you refer to the 2008 election and the reality or the realization the American people reached about this major demographic shift and the ways in which they have been preparing for it. Today, the Fulton County Bureau of Elections, I'm probably not getting the particular agency correct, as well as Pam Bondi, even in Minneapolis, as part of the criteria for de-escalation of ICE's behavior in Minneapolis, she seeks access to the state's voting rolls. Do you see that as part and parcel of this idea of limiting the access or the growth of these populations that profoundly influenced the 2008 elections?
Look, and every election since, right? Let's just think about this for a minute. Whether it's by participation or by abdication, it has been the turnout of those who are most disaffected that has really kind of set the course for where the country has been positioned to go. But let's not forget that part of this is to bring credibility to the myth, the mythology, that the 2020 election was stolen. And it was stolen by people of color. Remember, there was intentional conduct directed at Wayne County, Detroit metro area, looking at Fulton County. These are not coincidental selections. And so when you now have the president who was looking for 11,000 and some odd votes in 2020, now sending the FBI in to work around the elected Secretary of State in Georgia, even after all of these task forces and commissions identified that there was no significant voter fraud in 2016 or 2020, the biggest threat was from outside the nation's boundaries. It is to craft a narrative that creates such unrest that the people's response, by virtue of their First Amendment protections, would be protest. Now, protest becomes outlawed and it peaks just as this election is about to go forward. And what does this president want? He doesn't want just 11,000 votes. He wants control of the House and the Senate that then carts and charts the path for the next 2 years of chaos that would be on a scale that we're not even prepared to consider what that might look like.
Dr. Uri, we have about 7 minutes, obviously, before we come forward. From your unique perspective, both at the Rainbow Coalition, at the National Action Network, Dr. Sipes in the last hour talked about the kind of organization that needs to be in development, without any specifics, in order to confront this hour in history. Dr. Uri, what are your thoughts about the kind and scale of organization to confront, I think Dr. King would call it, the evil in our midst?
Well, first, I would expand our awareness that the civil rights movement that was largely focused on the work of Dr. King and SCLC benefited from the presence of other organizations that didn't necessarily share the same direct perspective. But an SCLC without a SNCC, without a CORE, without other related entities, NAACP and the like, absolutely, is not nearly as effective. You got to give an alternative. If there had not been the self-help focus and the right to self-defend focus of the Black Panther Party, we would have a much different conversation. If you do not have a Malcolm X in the North talking to, at that stage, the neoliberal version of the oppressor, and a Dr. King speaking to the community that deals with the overt terrorism of white violence and white rage, you don't get the same outcome. And so we've got to develop organizations, plural, that are clear-eyed in their perspective, but also unified in the objective, which must be the liberation of those who find themselves at the hand of the oppressed, of the oppressor.
I've heard from Gen X, Gen Z, I've heard even from some millennials that the tactics of the 60s are not appropriate for this hour, that there are new methods of organizing that we should be looking at. But I must be candid, in some ways it's really all that I know in terms of the sum of our history. Are there improvements, Dr. Urey, that we could make that would make the movement of these multiple organizations more effective?
Well, we should always be open to using the tools of the current moment. Organizing as a principle hasn't changed, right? What organizes a group of people to coalesce is finding some synergy around common goals and common objectives. That's a conversation. Coalition building hasn't changed in terms of how it functions. The tools that are used have changed. The methods of the 50s and the 60s, the courts and the pulpits, right? Even the stage for those who were performing and entertaining at the time. That now takes on a different framework, right? We use tools now. Technology is a big deal, but technology also comes with some hazards because you now have perpetrators and infiltrators who now mock and mimic what would otherwise appear to be the 21st century version of organizing. And what they really are imposters who are just lurking in the chat rooms and the spaces where we hang out to sow discord and disinterest in promoting the causes of justice. So I don't believe necessarily that the framework of organizing and liberation have changed. The tools have, the methods have to change because we're in different times. Television is now on your device. It's not what you go watch when you get home. And so the ability to communicate broadly in real time is much more immediate and much more impactful. The question becomes, how do we use the tools of our current predicament to aid in the outcome that would lead to our liberation?
I'm deeply troubled at this hour as to whether or not anyone from the various legacy organizations is giving any thought whatsoever. I've seen the success so far of the No Kings movement, but it may not be the same kind of sustaining power necessary to do what Barbara Arnwine shared with us yesterday from the Transformative Justice Coalition, that the nation itself could be heading in the direction of a general strike. And I assume that means the goal is to shut the country down. This is premature. It's obviously early, but there was a walkout this past week that was deemed to be successful. There was more than 50,000 people showed up on the streets of Minneapolis. Thousands of people showed up in the cold on one of the coldest days of the year in the city of Chicago. New Yorkers are standing up. The people of Atlanta are standing up. The question is whether or not, at least for me, a coalition between blacks and whites and browns and all Americans who are affected by the challenges of this hour to save our democracy indeed can be sustained over a period of time to get the attention of the United States government. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is Wealthy Wednesdays. Our very special guest, Dr. S. Todd Urey, is the principal of the Urey firm, a regular contributor to the Jesse Jackson Jr. show, and is largely responsible for getting us over Hump Day on Wednesdays. I'm so grateful for his leadership and his efforts. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward with Dr. S. Todd Urey.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is pushing for a millionaire's tax, saying it would ease the burden on working families.
These are progressive tax proposals.
He says he's discussed the idea with state lawmakers, and House Speaker Emmanuel Chris Welch supports it, but is not sure the votes are there yet. Black Maryland Governor Wes Moore testified in support of a new congressional map during a House Rules Committee hearing on Tuesday. He says the map reflects public input and was designed to boost competition and accountability. And rapper Nicki Minaj is voicing support for President Trump at a summit promoting his new Trump Accounts program, which would give $1,000 to babies born between 2025 and 2028. Minaj says criticism from the left has only strengthened her support and encouraged others to back the initiative, which allows additional contributions until a child turns 18. Get VIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Another win for the Clippers. They put together an impressive 115-103 victory at Utah Tuesday night for their 9th win in the last 10 games. Kawhi Leonard dropped 21 points. Chris Dunn had 5 of the Clippers' 10 steals. The Clippers are now just 2 games below 500. They're at Denver Friday night. The Lakers are at Cleveland tonight. LeBron tends to get excited when he plays in Cleveland as an opposing player. He's 9-2 in Cleveland with the Lakers and Miami Heat. In those 11 games, LeBron is averaging 31.6 points. If you want to see how motivated LeBron will be in his hometown area, it's a 4 p.m. tip-off local time on ESPN. Top 5 women's college basketball teams in this week's top 25 rankings: UConn, 19-1 UCLA, South Carolina, Texas, and Vanderbilt. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Still battling a thirsty lawn that guzzles water and drains your wallet? Let LADWP turn that patch of grass into a gorgeous drought-smart garden for free. We're talking a full California-friendly landscape makeover designed and installed by pros at no cost to you. That's right, LADWP does the work, you get the upgrade. Ready to transform your yard and save big? Visit LADWP.com/leap. That's LADWP.com/LEAP. USC Visions and Voices invites you to the LA premiere of Major, an exciting new dance theater performance exploring the legacy of Majorette dance. Directed by award-winning choreographer Ogemdi Ude, Major combines music and movement to explore what it means to be proudly Black and proudly femme. Join us on Wednesday, February 4th at USC's Bovard Auditorium. Reserve your free ticket now at visionsandvoices.usc.edu. That's visionsandvoices.usc.edu.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is none other than Dr. Estard Yeary, principal of the Yeary firm. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the show.
Man, Wednesdays is always something, isn't it?
It certainly is. I certainly appreciate you being here. Dr. Yeary, what should the international and the domestic civil rights community be thinking about at this hour?
There's a lot, right? I think there are a few things. One is about understanding where we are. Many times we goal set, but we don't level set. And so it leaves room for us to make the tragic mistake of believing that somehow or other we are much farther along than we really are. So I think part of it is making sure that we're very clear when $1,000 today is worth 83% of what $1,000 could get you 5 years ago. A Trump bond isn't going to do much for you. It's not an original idea. When we think about Brother Derek Hamilton at the New School, when he was talking about baby bonds, folks looked at him sideways, and he said every child born in the country needed to be given a bond that was worth, I believe, about $50,000. It was certainly not a grand. When you can't get a livable wage, when living expenses outpace your ability to work all 24 hours and then some, we got to be honest about where we are. I think we have been too sheepish in describing what is the reality that we are facing. And so we'll offer platitudes and symbolic descriptions. But the reality is pain. We are hurting, and we're hurting because the economic thriving that is widened the racial wealth gap, particularly amongst the elites, where you've got the top 1% controlling more wealth in the country than the bottom 98 to 99% combined. That's a reality. We've got to be clear on that so that when we start thinking about what are the responses, what are the demands that we would make, you can't demand to solve a problem that you've not assessed.
Dr. Yuri, one of the great challenges, of course, of the hour is the leadership or the perception of a leadership void in our community on these questions. Personally, I hope that African Americans are represented through their leadership at Mr. Petty's funeral in Minnesota. I think it makes a great statement about our civil rights movement and our tradition. I'd like to see our involvement on the streets of Minneapolis, not just because our Hispanic brothers and sisters are being attacked or the citizens themselves are being attacked, but the pro-democracy movement itself. While we have a unique perspective on it, my concern is that our civil rights leadership still finds itself on the defensive in the Trump era, not able to project the kind of beyond Venezuela agenda that might be necessary to build and provide a vision for the nation going forward. Your thoughts on the vision of the nation going forward?
Yeah, the nation going forward, you're not going to get a mass movement of folks who are going to exhibit the courage from within the structure, right? The structure is self-sustaining for a reason. Its primary goal is to protect its ongoing existence. If we go back and think about how did we get the Great Society Plan? How did we get Civil Rights Act in 64, Voting Rights Act in 65? You had economic empowerment that came in 66 and 67. Some of it came by way of what we now know as the precursor to, say, SNAP. And then in 68, you get the Fair Housing Act. That didn't come about because there was this radical recognition within the structure that this is the morally proper thing to do. It was you figure out who's the person or the persons who would be the focus of the conversation, the pressure, if you will, the communication, so that they leverage their particular influence for that role to do what needs to be done. It would be, I don't think anybody would have ever thought that a Lyndon Baines Johnson would be the biggest proponent of the Great Society Plan and anti-poverty efforts in the 60s, any more than folks would have thought that John F. Kennedy would have been the first one to utter the words affirmative action in federal policy. And so I think we've got to be clear on we're not just looking for numbers, we're looking for true allies who is strategically positioned to help move this, because it's going to take some effort. And so when we consider the leadership question, who is there, we're looking for critical mass to get to the tipping point, so that that momentum that's starting with 50,000 in the streets of Minneapolis leverages the impact and influence of folks in other cities who are like-minded, so that even if you don't get the majority of the 330 million people to do it, you get such a groundswell of support that the momentum that would be generated would not soon be squelched. And so progress is the only place that we would be able to go.
It is my sincere hope that that you emerge in this environment as someone who can provide the kind of national leadership that really brings people together across jurisdictions, not only in the South, but in the North, the East, and the West as well, because of the clarity that you bring to the subject matter and the historical knowledge and wherewithal. Let me ask a question about the church and its spirit energy at this hour. Is it your sense that the church is as active today on these questions of saving democracy as it was at the height of our movement in the 60s? And then we'll come forward with some final thoughts in the next segment.
Active is hard to say. Committed to, I believe so. Every Wednesday morning, I have a call with my staff from the church. Many of my ministers are bivocational, and they often share their experience about what's going on around them. Some of them work in the public sector. And as the awareness of this reality, the current reality, that whiteness isn't Teflon anymore. It's not your Kevlar. When you see what you see in the streets of places like Minneapolis, I think the expansion of what justice really looks like is changing. And so the church is, I think, wrestling, and that's church broadly, not just African American congregations or the like, but all are kind of figuring out, all right, this is no longer just black folks' problem. They killing everybody in these streets, and the church is sitting in a place where it must speak up lest it become complicit in the murder of the people of God in real time.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is Dr. S. Todd Yeary, principal of the Yeary Firm. His work spans the entire country and the globe, a civil rights attorney and public policy advocate. Dr. Yeary holds a deep belief that honest dialogue creates opportunities to form strategic partnerships that strengthen families and communities. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward on KBLA.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
They call it progress, but progress has a price. Land once held in black hands, taken, stolen, erased. Acres paved into highways, fields burned. Homes replaced by parking lots and broken promises. Every deed lost was a dream deferred. We talk about millionaires, but what about the millionaires that never were? The farmers whose soil was seized, the families who watched their inheritance disappear, the wealth that never had a chance to grow because its roots were ripped from the ground. They took the land, but never the legacy, because the soil remembers, and so do we. Every story matters. Our mission is to collect, preserve, and amplify these stories. If this is part of your family's history, visit blacklandlost.org/share your story and help bring us closer to justice.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Not everything announces itself. Some things simply arrive, and the room is compelled to adjust. This is grooming without apology, without noise, without compromise. Gods and money, organic formulations, clean precision, crafted for skin that does not ask for permission to be felt. Element Cream, a rare hydration layered like an oud at dusk, measured, enduring, unmistakably masculine, moisturizing oil, a quiet revolution, restoring what stress, climate, and time attempts to claim. This is not skincare. It is composure made visible. It is inevitability. Gods and money exist impeccably. Discover the ritual at godsandmoney.com. That's Gods and Money, MONY.com.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300. or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Come on and talk with me.
Welcome. Dr. S. Todd Yeary is our regular contributor to get us over the hump on Wednesdays. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Glad to be here. Congratulations on season 2. Look, we jump in the deep end of the pool so quickly. I forget to tell you, you're doing big things, my man.
We're doing the very best we can do. All we can do is be grateful to God for this opportunity on KBLA to share our thinking to hear from people and amazing contributors over the course of the last year. Of course, gratitude to our creator, Gina Towns, for the vision of the show, and our gratitude to Tavis Smiley for the faith that he has placed in us and the consistency within which we've tried to deliver a clear, concise, and accurate, but a truthful voice at a very difficult hour in the history of the United States. Todd, there've got to be some thoughts that I've skipped or missed up till this week that you might want to help me recoup before we get through the final segment of the show.
That's what we're doing with about 4 minutes and some change left. That's
We can go. You know what? We can go right to a word of hope, because I know you got a mini sermon. In your
Here's what's moving through my mind. You know, I get to, sometimes not so much in the best way, see myself in the camera looking back at me as we're spending this time on Wednesday. And what now grows on my chin and my face now, though I would prefer that it was not quite so colorful, it reminds me that I'm not as young as I once was. Here's what I'm mindful of. We're all on the clock. Our time in this realm is finite. The difference we would make, the impact that we might be able to produce that makes someone else's path lighter is limited. And so we don't have time to play games and get into, the foolish debates that don't lead us anywhere. We've got to be clear-eyed and open-minded to what this moment actually requires of us. And so when I think about today, tomorrow will mark 1 year since the tragedy of a midair collision at Reagan National Airport. Even as we're continuing to grieve the deaths of Renee Good and Mr. Preddy, an ICU nurse at a VA facility. Even as we're living through the horrors of ICE wreaking havoc in blue cities, not a Republican-led city on the list. And so we got to be clear on what the politics of our faith really means. And we can't be afraid to kind of call it out because that's the moment that's required. But here's the moment of hope. Let me drop this, and then we'll see where we go. Jeremiah the prophet, the weeping prophet, who on the verge of giving up in Lamentations, said things were so bad. He remembers the wormwood and the gall. The bitterness of life was too much to bear. And then he says, but then I remembered. He reflected on his own story. He remembered his own history. And he says, the mercies of God are new every morning, and the faithfulness of God is indeed great. And so God has spared us. God is keeping us to not get stuck in the frustration of the moment, but to embrace the power that the frustration can fuel if we would but tap into it. And so Jeremiah writes in chapter 6, God says, stand at the crossroads and see where the good way lies. Remember the ancient paths and walk in it, for there you will find rest for your souls. And the response from the people is, we will not walk in it. Listen, our ancestors have paved the way, and they have shown us the way in terms of how we navigate in the moment with whatever tools are available to us, because we have a commitment to resilience and resistance. Because until we get justice, there is no justice for anyone. And so let's remember not only those who are being martyrs, not of their own choosing in the streets of this country right now, but also where the good way lies. What have we learned from our story, so that when we look in the mirror and we realize that we may have more days behind us than we have ahead of us, that we don't waste any more time playing these trivial games that lead nowhere, and let's make a difference in the world, not only for ourselves, but for generations yet unborn.
So proud of you, Dr. Uri, and so grateful for those comforting words at a time when our nation is losing some very valuable contributors, our brothers and sisters in in Los Angeles, the young man who was killed there in the detention of ICE, Sister Renee Nicole Good, and Preddy. The more we learn about him, the more we identify with just the cruelty of the government, the cruelty of man's inhumanity to man. And who would have ever thought it? The cruelty of the United States government to its own people. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. I want to thank Dr. Todd Yeary. More when we come forward on KBLA tomorrow on Thought Provoking Thursdays. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA.